Om. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrusham Tattvamasyaadilakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatetam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Hari Om, everybody. At the outset, I would like to thank all of you who have sent me thanksgiving messages for the Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha. I wonder whether I deserve all of that, all of their praise. I just did my duty, like I promised my Guru, that what little I know, I will try to give it away to like-minded people. That's all I did. If I had made any mistakes on the way, I am pardonable, please. Now, before we get on to the Gita, I thought we should know why we would like to get into the Gita. Look at it this way. Whatever pursuit each one of us may have, whatever activity we may undertake, whatever we may say or do, it is for our happiness, is it not? Nobody does anything for being unhappy. Nobody starts a project for being unhappy. But during the process of the execution of the project, some unhappy moments may come, that's okay. But the intention is to be happy. Whatever you do, intention is to be happy. We do everything for us to be happy. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad beautifully says, Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Because of the love for yourself, everything else becomes lovable. And the love for yourself will propel you into taking up activities which make you happy all the time. We have the four Purusharthas, is it not? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And Moksha we will come to. In the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Dharma also we will talk about it a little later. Artha and Kama. Artha is what? Whatever we do, it is for our security. I would like to be secure, maybe with a little bank balance, maybe with a little house, maybe with some permanent employment, whatever. All these are for security. That is the Artha. May I have the wherewithal to take care of my family. That is also security. Kama is what? Kama is a desire, again, to be happy. Kama is a number of ways that you can desire to be happy. I would like to go see a movie and be happy. I would like to switch off the TV and meditate and be happy. Okay, these are the various desires that one would have, artha and kama. And this artha and kama, as long as they are in conformity with the, excuse me, yeah, my laptop power cable has come off. So as long as these are in conformity with what others may be pleased with you, your artha and kama, that becomes dharma. Whatever you desire others should do for you, if you do to others, that becomes dharma. Right? In a nutshell, that is how it is. So dharma, artha, kama. And moksha is what? All these, this dharma, in conformity with dharma, if artha and kama are taken up, they are taken up for being happy. And moksha is that dhamma which renders you happy all the time. That is where the Gita Shastra comes in. Okay? And Gita Shastram, it is part of the great Itihaasa, Mahabharata. There are two Itihasas for us, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Ramayana is also called a kavyam, right? Mahabharata is given the title of a Panchama Veda. This is called the Panchama Veda because there is nothing in this which is not the gist of the Vedas is covered in this. There's nothing in this which is available elsewhere. Whatever is available elsewhere is here. That is how, because it is covering the gist and essence of the Vedas, it is called the Panchama Veda. And Vedas are what? Vedas are considered to be apaurushayam. Apaurushayam means they are not having any author. They have been the revelations to the rishis. And these Vedas, therefore now, during or prior to Vedavyasa's time, there was a single body of Vedas. There was a single body of Veda. There are no four Vedas. It was the burden of Bhagavan Vedavyasa to kind of codify, edit, and classify, and put them into four separate compartments. And those are what? One is the Rig Veda, which contains essentially the Rig mantras. Another is the Yajur Veda, which contains again essentially the Yajur mantras. Then the third one is the Sama Veda, which contains Sama mantras. Then the fourth one is Atharva Veda, which contains the mantras kind of left over from these three Vedas, and that becomes the Atharva Veda. It contains Ruk mantras, it contains Yajur mantras, it contains the Sama mantras, and it has its own mantras, I believe. I also believe the Vedas that we have today are only about 25% of what we ought to have had. So, Kalakramena, we have lost about 75% of the Veda Vijnana contained in the Vedas who have lost them, I believe. Anyway, we have got that now. And the essence of the Vedas is twofold. One is the Karma Bhaga, the other is the Jnana Bhaga. The same thing is covered in the Gita by Bhagavan Krishna. Lokesmin vividha anishta pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. Hey Arjuna, I have told quite long back, quite some time back, there are two nishtas for people in this loka. One is the jnana nishta for the sannyasis. Jnana yogena sankhyanam, karma yogena yoginam. Karma yogena yoginam means for people like us who are not at sannyasis, okay? For people like us, the karma yoga is mentioned. Same thing the Veda also talks. So the essence of the Veda is available in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad Gita is also considered to be the essence of the Upanishads. Sarvo Upanishado Gavaha, Dogdha Gopalanandanaha, Pardho Vatsaha, Sudhihi Bhokta, Dugdham Gitamrutam Mahat. Sarva Upanishadaha, all the Upanishads are compared to cows. Sarvo Upanishado Gavaha, Dogdha Gopalanandanaha. And Bhagavan Krishna is considered to be the milker of all those cows. And after having milked, what has he done? For milking, no cow will yield milk unless the vatsa is there. Vatsa is what? The calf must be there. When the calf goes unto the udder of the cow and chuckles, then only the cow starts yielding the milk. That is what Arjuna has done. Arjuna has as though been the catalyst for Bhagavan Krishna to give the essence of the Upanishads to all of us. Pardho Vatsaha. Vatsaha is the calf. Pardha is Arjuna. Pardho Vatsaha. Sudhihi Bhokta. People like us who have a good mind. Sudhihi, good intellect. Bhokta. We are the enjoyers of what Bhagavan Krishna is giving after milking the cows which are the Upanishads. Okay? Dugdham Gitamrutam Mahat. Let us all enjoy the Amrita Mahatyam of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, before we get on to the Bhagavad Gita, we must know some antecedents. Who is this Bhagavan Krishna? Who is this Arjuna? And it starts with a question by Dhritarashtra. Gita starts with a question by Dhritarashtra. Dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, samaveta yuyutsavaha, mamakaha pandavascheva, kim akurvata Sanjaya. Hey Sanjaya. Sanjaya is the one who was bestowed the vision of television, okay, by Bhagavan Vyasa. He has bestowed on Sanjaya to be in a position to see what is happening in the battlefield in Kurukshetra. And whenever he thinks of a person, he will also get to know what is that person thinking, etc., etc. Such a lot of powers he has bestowed on Sanjaya. To such a Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra asks a question in the beginning of the Gita. Dharma Kshetre. In the Dharma Kshetra, We'll come to that later. Kurukshetre, which is Kurukshetra, which is presently slightly about 200 miles up north of Delhi. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta Yoyotsavaha. Having assembled desirous of fighting, Mamakaha, my people, Pandavas Chaiva, Pandavas, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya, what did they do? He did not ask, what are they doing? What did they do? That is because Gita is available in the Mahabharata as a narration after the fall of Bhishmacharya. When the Bhishma Pitamaha was laid low by Arjuna, then Sanjaya comes hurriedly to the Dhritarashtra palace and announces that Bhishma has fallen. That is when Dhritarashtra loses part of his hope and asks, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya, what did they do? Mamakaha Pandavascheva, what did they do? That was a question. Okay, we will see all those things. But let's get to know a little bit about the vital personages in the Mahabharata who matter to us vis-a-vis our study of the Gita. Like Bhagavan Krishna, Dhritarashtra, say Sanjaya, then Duryodhana. Duryodhana also says a few verses in the Gita. Though it is not mentioned by Vyasa as Duryodhana Uvacha, but indirectly he has mentioned. And Vyasa Bhagavan, without whom we do not have the Mahat Grantham, the Bhagavad Gita at all, etc., etc. How these people came up, what are their antecedents? Okay. So if you people permit me, I would like to make a very brief introduction to Mahabharata and then get on to the characters who are very relevant to us for our study, right? Now, in the Mahabharata, Vyasa Bhagavan has started every parva. Incidentally, there are 18 parvas in the Mahabharata. I'll come to that. I'll come to narrating those parvas. And in the beginning of each parva, he has prayed. And the prayer is beautiful. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim chaiva tato jayamudirayet. Tato jayamudirayet. Thereafter, Bharata slokas must be uttered. Thereafter means what? Narayanam namaskritya, Narayanam namaskritya, having done prostrations to Narayana, Naram chaiva narottamam, to the Nara, to the man, and who is Naranam Uttamam, Narottamam, to the Nara, who is Naranam Uttamam. Naram chaiva narottamam, devim saraswatim chaiva. Bhagavati, Saraswati Devi, because he has undertaken a stupendous task of writing the Mahabharata, which requires the blessing from the deity of what? The letters, education, and all knowledge. Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Thereafter, the Mahabharata sloka must be uttered. This he has said that in the beginning of every parva. Every parva. Like I said, there are 18 parvas, and Bhagavan Vyasa is very fond of this figure 18. There are 18 parvas in the Mahabharata. There are 18 Akshauhinis in the Kurukshetra war. There are 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, which we are going to take up. And the Kurukshetra war went on for 18 days. I don't know how many other 18s are there which I have missed. Bhagavan Vyasa is very fond of this 18. I don't know how. Now, in the Mahabharata, the first parva is called Adiparva. This Adiparva gives the introduction to the various lineages, how the Vamsha of Vamshanukramana, how the Chandra Vamsha has started, how these kings have come out, and things like that. And in the process, Adiparva, which is a reasonably big parva, it covers some interesting inputs like the Akshauhinis, 18 Akshauhinis. Each Akshauhini is how big and what does Akshauhini contain? That also Vyasa Bhagavan has covered. And if you are interested, the Akshauhinis, I made some notes of that. Yeah. Yeah, one Akshauhini will have 21,870 chariots. Chariot means the chariot with the driver and with the Yodha inside and with a lot of armaments, lot of weapons. That is the chariot. So 21,870 chariots, equal number of elephants. Elephants means a huge elephant, and on top of it, the Yodha will be there. And in front of him, the Mahout will be there. And the elephant also contains a lot of armaments, etc., etc. The advantage of the elephant is the Yodha can fight, having a great advantage of height. Right? Now, 65,610 horses. Horses means the Yodha will be on the horseback. He will have a lot of weaponry with him tied to the sides of the horse, and he will fight only another horseback mounted warrior. Same thing with the chariots, same thing with the elephant riders. And the number of foot soldiers will be 1,09,350. This is one Akshauhini. This is how Akshauhini has been defined. And this Akshauhini has a lot of subdivisions like Shana Mukha, Gulma, Gana, Vahini, etc., etc. We will not go into those details unless we go into Mahabharata, which is a massive text, very, very massive text. And the Mahabharata is an extremely pious text, is an extremely important text for all of us. Not only because it contains the Bhagavad Gita, it contains the Vishnu Sahasranama, it contains the Shiva Sahasranama, and it contains a lot of beautiful episodes connecting nobility, connecting people who have been exemplary kings, who have led a wonderful life for us to emulate, right? And because of that, Mahabharata is a Mahat Grantha. Now, these 18 Akshohinis, they will have chariots, 393,000 roughly, and the elephants, equal number, horses, 11,80,000 roughly, and foot soldiers, 21,65,000 roughly. This is the assemblage at the Kurukshetra. And what is that Kurukshetra? Kurukshetra is named after a king who was an ancestor of the Kauravas. Kauravas includes Pandavas. Even Pandavas are Kauravas. Because Kauravas, the title came from this Kuru. There was a Kuru who was an ancestor to these people, both Pandavas and Kauravas, and he was a very illustrious king, and he has done a lot of yajnas, yagas in a place called Kurukshetra. So that has become Dharmakshetra. Dharmakshetra. And who is this Kuru? For us to know, we must go to the beginning. Beginning is what? Brahma. And Brahma created whom? The creator Brahmaji. Creator Brahmaji. Okay? We have seen earlier during the discussions on Tattva Bodha and Atma Bodha that he just desired, and he has come up with the projection. And the first projection was Brahmaji. Brahmaji is a creator Brahma. And Brahmaji has created a number of Maharshis. One of them is Marichi. And the son of Marichi is Kashyapa. And Kashyapa had a lot of wives who were the daughters of Daksha. He had 13 wives who were the daughters of Daksha. And from each one of them, he had a lot of progeny, right? Now, this Kashyapa has been the father of Vivaswata. Vivaswata is what? The sun god. Okay? Vivaswata. And Vivaswata has given birth to Manu. Has given birth to Manu. Okay? And Manu is considered the first king who ruled very judiciously, very dharmically, and very well. Manu. And it was to the credit of Manu that he has got a Dharma Shastra, Manu Dharma Shastra. That also is there. And Manu had a number of children. One amongst them is Ikshvaku. The eldest was Ikshvaku. And we say in praise of Sri Rama, we say Ikshvaku Kula Tilaka, and that title, that Ikshvaku, came from this son of Manu, Ikshvaku. Okay? Apart from this Ikshvaku, Manu had, before Ikshvaku was born, Manu had done some yajnam, Pitrukameshta yajnam, for a son. And he has got a child, but the child was not a son. The child became a daughter. Then he turned to the Purohit, Vasishta. Vasishta incidentally has been the Purohit for a number of ages, for a number of kings. And Vasishta, using his powers, has rendered the daughter a man. And the man's name is Sudhanva. Why I am saying all this is, there is a particular relevance. Why I need to say this? This Sudhanva unwittingly happened to go to one garden, which is a forbidden garden, which was the forte of Lord Shiva and Parvati. Anybody going into that garden will immediately be turned into females. So this Sudhanva, the prince, became a female, and he came back, and with the help of Vasishta and also Ishvara, he has regained his manhood, but with a condition. Only part of the time he'll be man, the other part he'll be a woman. And the woman is called Aila, I-L-A, Aila, a beautiful woman, a princess, okay? And supposing the blessing given by Lord Shiva is that 1 month he will be a lady, another month he will be a man, right? Then in the month he was a lady, that Aila, this Aila happened to be relaxing on the terrace. That is when, I believe, the son of Chandrama, the son of the moon god, Buddha, happened to see her, loved her, and the result is one boy. And that boy, the boy's name is what? Anybody remembers that boy's name?
Bharata.
Huh?
Bharata.
What did you say, sir?
Bharata.
No, not Bharata. Pururava. His name is Pururava. Why I am saying this is, this Ila is a lady pertaining to what family? Surya Vamsha. Because Marichi, Kashyapa, then Vivaswata. Vivaswata is sun god. Then Ila or Sujamna. Sujumna. The Sujumna is a solar dynasty king. Right? Now, this Pururava is who? He was begotten by which father?
Moon father.
By Buddha. Buddha is what? Chandramamsha. So the Chandramamsha has taken roots through the Surya Vamsha. So Sudhanva, in the form of Ila, became the wife of Buddha, which resulted in Pururava. This Pururava, as he grew up, he happened to spend a lot of time with the heavenly nymph Urvasi. With Urvasi, he spent a lot of time, and the result was a number of children. One such was Ayush, etc., etc. And from out of them, the next generation, a number of children were born. One of them was Nahusha. Nahusha, incidentally, in his own right, he became the Indra. And later on, he was cursed by Agastya to become a serpent. and the serpent creates a lot of problem to Bhimasena, and he is relieved by Yudhishthira answering the questions of Nahusha. That is called Nahusha Prashna. All this is covered in the Vanaparva of the Mahabharata. Right. Now, Pururava, we have come to Nahusha, and Nahusha's son is Yayati. This Yayati lived for a long, long time. Not only that, after living for a long time, then he became very, very aged, but his desires did not leave him. He requested his sons to share their youth with him. He had two queens. One is Devayani, who was the daughter of Shukracharya. Shukracharya was the Rakshasa Guru. Like Bruhaspati was the Deva Guru, Shukracharya was the Danava Guru, right? Now, Devayani and Shirmishta. Shirmishta was the other queen. Shirmishta, incidentally, is the princess born out of a king, whereas Devayani is the daughter of a Brahmin. Daughter of a Brahmin, Shukracharya, right? Now, from these queens, he had 5 children. When his desires were not fulfilled, he was anxious to live for some more time. He asked Yadu. Yadu is the eldest of the children of Yayati. When he asked Yadu, he laughed it off and almost insulted Yayati. Then Yayati cursed Yadu, saying, "You shall not have the qualification to be a king, and none of your people will be kings." Yadu. Then some 2-3 others also, they refused. He cursed them severally, differently. Then finally, one last fellow, his name was Puru, P-U-R-U, Puru. And this Puru agreed to share his youth with his father. Very gladly he has given. And afterwards, he lived, Yayati, for 1,000 more years using the youthhood of Puru. And afterwards came back and told Puru, "Hey, these desires are insatiable. The more I satisfy, the more they grow, like Adyam in fire." Adyam is what? Ghee. Ghee you pour into fire. What happens? The fire inflames. So thank you, my dear son, for giving me your youth. Please take it back. Give back my old age, and I anoint you as the king of this empire. So Puru becomes the king, not any of his other 4 elder brothers, who have been severally cursed by Yayati. Now, that the eldest fellow, Yadu, he is the progenitor of the Yadu Vamsha. He is the cause for the Yadu Vamsha, out of which Bhagavan Krishna is a part. Bhagavan Krishna, we keep on praising in various slokas, that saying he is the Shiromani for Yaduvamsha, etc., etc. Now, none of those people have been the kings, I believe, but they have been the kingmakers, and they have almost enjoyed the honor of a king. None of them becoming kings by themselves. Bhagavan Krishna included. He was not a king. Now, that is the Yadu and Bhagavan Krishna. Now, Puru, he has given birth to various celebrity kings and emperors. Some amongst them are like Dushyanta. Somebody said Bharata. Bharata. Bharata.
I got it.
Yeah. Dushyanta, Bharata, etc. And amongst them, Kuru also. Prior to Kuru, there was a king called Hasti. And in his name, this Hastinapura came up. Hastinapura came up in the name of that king Hasti, who was in the line of Puru. Maybe several generations removed from Puru. And this Hastinapura is generally mistaken to be the present day Delhi now, which is not correct. Hastinapura was on the banks of Mother Ganges, and Delhi cannot have the blessing of Mother Ganges. It is on the banks of the Yamuna River. So from that point of view, Hastinapura is not Delhi. Secondly, Hastinapura cannot even be Indraprastha. Indraprastha happens to be, as we go by, the capital of the Pandavas later, and those people have created that capital in wilderness, in some Marubhumi, like in a desert land. In the desert land, where do you get rivers? If Hastinapura was Indraprastha, which Hastinapura has got Yamuna River on its banks, this Indraprastha could not have had a desert for them to harness themselves. So it cannot be even Indraprastha. So these people, Bharata, Dushyanta, Bharata, etc., Hasti, Kuru. Kuru is one of the kings who was instrumental to doing a lot of yajnas, yagas, and he was a very noble king. And he ruled from Hastinapura, all right, but he has done a lot of yajnas, yagas in the Kurukshetra, which is upward of Delhi. Now, this Hastinapura may be in the olden days between Delhi and the present day Dehradun. Between these two cities, it may have been somewhere where Mother Ganges is flowing, right? And from there, Kurukshetra will not be far off, right? So, this Kuru was a very illustrious king. The Kurukshetra has come up because of that. And in his line, there were a number of kings. One amongst them was Pradipa. And Pradipa was a very, very great king. But when age has overtaken him, he wanted to go to the forest for doing Vanaprastham. Right? At that time, just before that, when Brahmaji was having a jnana session, he was doing Atma Bodha, Vicharana, Atma Bodha Vivarana. When he was doing, there were two people in the assembly. One is a Gandharva called Mahabhishu, and just then Mother Ganges was entering the hall. At that time, Mother Ganges, that Pallu has come off, I believe, and all others have bent their heads down, except this Mahavishnu, who was watching this Mother Ganges in that condition with a lot of interest. Brahmaji happened to notice this, and Mother Ganges also liked Mahavishnu looking at her like that. He got angry and cursed both of them, this Mahavishnu and Mother Ganges, to go take birth on the earth. And after you are cleared of your sins, you can come back. And this Mahavishnu happened to be the son of this Pradipa. Pradipa's son is Shantanu. Pradipa had two other sons, but the one important son is Shantanu. Now, this Shantanu married Mother Ganga on the condition of Mother Ganga. The condition was what? Whatever she does, he shall not question. The moment he questions, she would leave him. On that condition, he has lived with her very happily. Mother Ganges delivered 7 children, 7 sons, and all of them, immediately after delivery, she herself put them to death by immersing the children in the Ganges. This Shantanu could not say anything because he loved Mother Ganges, such a beautiful lady, and given a promise to her that he will not question. Then the 8th son was born. When the 8th son was born, he could not tolerate the cruelty of Mother Ganges, and he stopped her dumping the child in the Ganges. That is when Ganga said, enough is enough, I am moving away. You broke your promise. I am taking this child and I'll bring him back after proper education. And she flew away along with the child. Shantanu became wifeless now. And he was in his prime of youth. This Bhishma, who was this 8th son born to Shantanu and Ganga, he becomes Bhishma. Why he becomes Bhishma is because of a terrible vow he takes. The vow he takes is to have his father wed one lady, Satyavati, because Satyavati's father imposes a lot of conditions. And for all those conditions, this Bhishmacharya agrees and takes that terrible vow that he will not marry and he will always protect the king of Hastinapura. And from then on, he is called Bhishmacharya. And Bhishmacharya is the Pitamaha for both the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Now, down the line, when Shantanu married this Satyavati, Satyavati is incidentally a very, very important lady in our study of Mahabharata. She has given birth to Bhagavan Vyasa prior to her marriage with Shantanu. What happened was, when she was a maiden, she was rowing the boat on the Yamuna river. Then Maharshi Parashara happened to come there and desirous of crossing the river. He boarded that boat and he saw the Satyavati who was dark, who was smelling like a fish. Her name was Matsya Gandhi also. Satyavati, Matsya Gandhi also. But he took pity on her and rendered her as Yojana Gandhi. Yojana is something like 8 miles. Yojana Gandhi means her fragrance, her body's fragrance will spread to 8 miles all around. And he has begotten a son on her. That son is Bhagavan Vyasa. Then Satyavati pleaded with him. What happens to my maidenhood? Parashara Maharshi protects her maidenhood. Nothing happens. This is Bhagavan Vyasa who has to take birth through our union, and he has a lot of wonderful work to do. And as soon as Bhagavan Vyasa is delivered, and the delivery is what? It is called Sadhyo Garbha, instantaneous birth, right? The union between Parashara Maharshi and Satyavati resulted instantaneously in Vyasa Bhagavan. He prostrates to Mother Satyavati and Parashara Maharshi and tells Satyavati that he will go do his tapas and he has a lot of other work. Whenever she thinks of him, he would present himself at his mother's feet. He goes away. That is Vyasa Bhagavan. Now, Shantanu has 2 sons. Vichitravirya, the younger one, and the elder one is? Elder one's name, anybody knows?
Devavrat.
Huh?
Devavrat.
Devavrat is Bhishmacharya's name, sir.
Chitrangada. Chitrangada.
Chitrangada.
Yeah, Chitrangada.
Okay. Vichitravirya and Chitrangada. And this Chitrangada, he is a great fighter, but he will be killed in a match of fighting with a Gandharva. And so this Vichitravirya only is the reigning prince available for Hastinapura. So Bhishmacharya protects him, and when Vichitravirya comes of age, he looks for brides for him. He goes to Kashi, brings 3 princesses. One is Amba, another is Ambalika, a third one is Ambika. Amba, Ambika, Ambalika, like that. And when he brings these 3, this Amba, after Bhishmacharya has come to Hastinapura, pleads with him, saying she has already given her love to somebody else. Then Bhishmacharya says, okay, you go back there, and sends her back. There's another story, we will see it later. Now, these 2 other princesses, Ambika and Ambalika, become the wives of Vichitravirya. This Vichitravirya is a very peculiar king, always reveling in the inner apartments of the palace, and in the process, he dies out of tuberculosis. Now, so Vichitravirya gone, Chitrangada gone, Bhishmacharya has taken a terrible vow not to marry. Now there is no heir for Hastinapura at all. For the Kuru Vamsha, which is also the Puru Vamsha, Kuru is part of the Puru Vamsha, right? So these Kauravas and Pandavas, they're called Kauravas. They can also be called Pauravas, 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 because they owe their existence to their first great grandfather, Puru, Yayati's son. Right? Now, Satyavati says, Bhishmacharya, you must help. Then Bhishmacharya says, the only way we can seek help is from Vyasa Bhagavan. And Vyasa Bhagavan was thought of by Satyavati. He comes and presents himself, and through his grace, through Ambika, who is the widow of Vichitravirya, he gives rise to Dhritarashtra. Why? Because at the time of the union between Dhritarashtra and Ambika, she closes her eyes, unable to look at this Maharshi.
Vedavyasa and Ambika, right?
Huh?
The union between Vedavyasa and Ambika.
Vedavyasa and Ambika. Yeah, very
Ah.
right. Okay. The union is perhaps not physical. It was through his taponishta, that union, right? But she closes her eyes and a blind child is born, that is Dhritarashtra. Then Vedavyasa was requested by Satyavati to be merciful and give another son who will not be blind. Then he will try to bestow a good son on Ambalika, the other princess, who is also the widow of Vichitravirya. When he approaches her, she will be nervous, and because she was nervous at the union, a child was born, perfect in all limbs and things like that, but he has got white all over the body. He is white all over the body, Pandu. He is called Pandu. That is not considered a defect at all. Okay. And as they grow, incidentally, there is a third son given to the family by Vedavyasa. Satyavati requests Vedavyasa to please have a union with Ambika again and give some reasonably good son. He agrees. When he goes there, this Ambika very cunningly sends her servant maid dressed as a princess. And that servant maid is not afraid of Vedavyasa. She will serve him very nicely because it is her attitude of service. And Vedavyasa will be pleased and he will bestow a wonderful son on her. And he becomes Vidura. Vidura, he is considered an incarnation of Yamadharma Raja. In the Mahabharata, there are two people who are considered incarnations of Yama. One is Vidura, another is Yudhishthira. We'll see that. Now, these three people, hey, we have come to 8 o'clock. Brahmara, I'm so sorry. I did not know the time.
So if it is another few minutes to wind up this introduction, I think maybe we can go ahead.
Yeah. Then, so this Pandu and Dhritarashtra, as they grow, the Pandits of the empire say Dhritarashtra cannot be the king because he does not have one of the vital limbs. So Pandu was anointed the king, right? Now, Pandu becomes the king. Dhritarashtra, Bhishmacharya gives Gandhari in marriage to Dhritarashtra, and Pandu gets two wives. One is Kunti and another is Madri. Gandhari closes her eyes in reverence to her blind husband. And Kunti and Madri, they live happily with Pandu. Pandu goes for Digvijaya Yatra and brings all the neighboring kings under subjugation and enlarges the Hastinapura empire. But Pandu was very, very fond of hunting. He goes with the queens hunting, and in the process, he ends up with a curse from one of the rishis. And the curse is that if he copulates with any of his queens, he will die. When they were in the forest, Gandhari was pregnant and produces 100 sons and a daughter, right? Thanks to Bhagavan Vyasa. Like that, in the forest, with the grace of Yamadharmaraja, Kunti has Yudhishthira as the first son, and with the grace of Vayudeva, Kunti will have the second son in Bhimasena, and with the grace of Indra, she will have Arjuna as the third son. Likewise, she will help Madri beget two sons, Nakula and Sahadeva. Right? Now this Arjuna of our Gita is this Arjuna. This Arjuna who is blessed by none other than Indra. Indra Kumara. Arjuna is Indra Kumara. Right? And that Indra Kumara asks who? Bhagavan Krishna. Bhagavan Krishna. Sishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. We will see that tomorrow. Okay? Why I went into this kind of an introduction is, we must know who is who. Where did these people come up? What is their origin? Etc. Okay? I'm sorry I have taken a lot of time. Once again, I take this opportunity to thank all of you who have sent me Thanksgiving messages. I could not reply because I did not say I'm not very iPhone savvy, computer savvy, etc. I somehow have been carrying on, managing. Thanks all of you. Right. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, all of you. We'll meet tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Phoenix time.
Hari Om.